Hi, Abraham. Thanks for coming. Do we ever have to take action, or can we just emote whatever we want into being?
When you find the vibrational alignment with your desire, universal forces will find a way of bringing it about within the parameters of all desires that you hold. So if it were one of your desires that you never take action, and you were able to align with the idea of everything you want, you would never need to take action. However, and we do not say this as an exception to what we just said, because what we just said is accurate. You do not need to take action. But you've come forth into this physical environment, and action is a delicious part of your physical experience. When you use action to try to create, it's harder, it's clumsy and bulky. When you use your alignment of energy and you let it be an emotional journey and you get yourself into the place of allowing what you're wanting to flow to you, then it's great fun to use your action, your inspired action, to move things along. In other words, you've come into physical form. You like the physicality of this time-space reality. It is our promise to you. You are not wanting to be without that which you call action, or that which you call feeling, or that which you call embracing, or that which you call being. But we know what you mean. Hard to use your action to create.
So if I wanted to attract customers and I didn't want to knock on doors like the company wants me to do, and I could put a sign in the back of my car, I could just attract all the customers that I wanted without having to do the parts that would take up too much time.
You could attract all of the customers that you want just by walking around knowing what you know, and they would literally come to you and say, "What do you have to say to me?" In other words, you can get so good at being who you are that everything you are wanting will just appear in seamless, effortless fashion. When you get into your automobile, do you ever feel the uncontrollable urge to get under the hood and be one of the pistons or pull one of the belts? Or do you let the engine do its engine thing while you get in and do your part? And law of attraction is the engine thing in all of this. When you do your part of aligning your frequencies, circumstances and events will be aligned. They'll be arranged. Doors open, seas part, things unfold.
Thank you.
Yes, indeed. You'll hear more. However, when you say, "I really don't want to knock on doors, I really don't want to knock on doors, I really don't want to knock on doors," the company says, "I should do this thing I don't want to do, and I don't want to do that." Now you've achieved vibrational harmony with the thing you don't want to do. So it is all about soothing yourself into a place of expecting what you want to be. Isn't it nice that we waited until you got out of the chair before we talked? This is where you can't talk back. So we're coming. So if you want something and you believe it, it comes about easily. If you want something and you don't believe it, then you're not in vibrational alignment. So then your company says, "Well, if you want this, then you have to do this." But when you say, "Well, I want this, but I don't want to do this," now you're out of alignment. So you have to, but if you say, "I want this, and I don't want to do this, but I believe that if I do this, I will have this," then you might achieve some sort of alignment. In other words, it's all in about the way you feel. But if you say, "I want this, and I believe I have to do this, and I hate doing this, but I'll do this even though I hate doing this," now you're in less alignment. It's sort of like someone having a sickness and going to a doctor that says, "Oh, I've seen this all the time, take this pill and you'll be done with it." And you've never heard about doctors, but this one seems reliable and he's so confident and he seems to have experience, and so he gives you the pill and you want this and the pill makes you believe that, so you take the pill and it's all done. There's no misalignment within you. But if someone says go to a doctor and you know someone who went to a doctor and they died anyway, then you might have all kinds of negative vibration about a doctor, and just being at the doctor might not put you into alignment, you see. So it's all about finding the path of least resistance. So in the same way that we say, find the thought that feels better, you could apply the same thing to action. In other words, you could say, I want to be up here, but here is where I feel that I am. And then you say, well, which of all of these actions feels the best to me? And that's the way we would approach it. We would do, because most people believe that it requires some action, because because they're taught by people who've had success that it did require some action. So you just have to find your place. But it's our promise to you. You can bring yourself to a place of expecting all things to come to you, and they will. Yes.
So I want a romantic relationship with a specific person. And I was attracted to him from afar, and I kind of manifested interaction with him by accident. And then but this is before I understood deliberate creation, and then I unmanifested it because I got all freaked out. And then everybody in my life, they were very positive. They're like, oh, I can see you guys together. And then when he manifested away from me, they became very negative and said, you have to forget him, you have to get over it, all this kind of stuff. But my desire is still very strong to align with this person, or an energy that made me feel like I felt interacting with him.
Well, now you've said the perfect thing, because when you say, I want the essence of this person, you go a long way in softening resistance. When you say, I want or need this very person, and at the same time you say, but this very person doesn't seem to want or need me, now you've introduced more than necessary resistance into the vibration. But when you say, I like the way I felt with this one, and I want to continue to remember the essence of what that felt like, and I'm going to keep that vibrational memory alive within me, so universe, bring me that or something that feels just like that. Now there is so much less resistance in that, and the universe can accomplish that relatively quickly for you.
The challenge that I'm feeling about it is I went into complete panic when I got to the doorway with this person. Got so nervous and shy that I couldn't talk to him, I couldn't interact.
Well, now what that's about, now we talked about this a little bit earlier. That's about your desire being ahead of your vibrational habit. In other words, that's sort of quantum leaping. That's where you've identified something you want and you've kept it alive by thinking about it, and you've asked the universe to deliver it to you before you're really ready for it. And anything like that a lot of you meet your future experiences, but they just sort of bounce off of you because you're not practiced enough in the vibration to really hold them there. But it's wonderful when you do have the experience of them, because that lets you know you're within range. In other words, you would not have the experience at all if you were not somewhere in range. We liked your words very much because you said, I focused upon it purely enough that the universe was able to arrange a rendezvous. But clearly, I was not practiced enough in the vibration to maintain it. And then the idea of it freaked me out so much that I jumped even further out of alignment with it. And then the connection was broken altogether. And we say, but what a wonderful thing to have had that experience and to understand it so clearly. And so now you just, and now we want to remind you, Magellan never says, where have you been? And yet everything that you now want is a byproduct of what you've been living. So now all you have to say is, well, now, given all that I've lived and all that I know and all that I've wanted, what is it that I now want? So just start fresh. Program your guidance system now. What do you now want? You can say it. You can repeat it. You can say, I want the same thing that I had before, but I want a different outcome. In other words,
right. So it's okay to be specific. I want this person, but now I would like to meet him and have the exchange go this way.
Well, here's the key. You want to be as specific as you can be and still continue to move up the emotional scale. So if you say, when I think about this person, I feel contentment or satisfied. When I think about finding a way to meet him, I feel worried. Well, then that thought didn't serve you. When you say, when I think about finding someone like him, whether it's him or not, just someone that makes me feel good, now I'm more hopeful. When I think about, no, it's got to be this specific one, then I feel more doubtful. So, are you getting the sense of this? In the emotional journey, now we really, really, really want you to hear us when we say, let this be just for a little while, no matter what it is you want, an emotional journey. So if you're not having to figure out how to make it happen, you're just trying to figure out, what is it that you really want to make happen? Above all things, I really want to make myself feel as good as I can feel right now. That's what you're trying to make happen. Mm-hmm. I'm going to try to make myself feel as good as I can feel about this important subject right now. So you just feel around until you feel the thought that feels the best. And when you hook into it, then beat the drum of it. Think about it, pretend it, and then reach for a more specific thought. And if it makes you feel better, then beat the drum of it. But if the more specific thought doesn't feel as good as the more general thought where you were before, then go back to the more general thought. You're not ready to move on to the more specific thought. This is very helpful. Are you getting the sense of this? Be as specific as you can be without introducing unnecessary resistance.
Okay, so when I try to take action in that emotional spectrum, I comfort myself by saying I don't have to do anything. I don't have to put myself in proximity.
Better still, say to yourself, I'm not going to take action until I feel fantastic. Because whenever you take action from a place of trying to make the action make something happen, there's enough resistance in there that the action is just going to backfire.
Right.
You want to take inspired action. In other words, you want to play with this in your mind until it just feels like the next logical step. And when it feels like the next logical step, the action will happen. You'll just find yourself inspired to take the action. Or, as our friend before you, you won't even need to take the action. The action will be taken and you'll just be there observing it happening.
Right. Okay.
Yes. Very good.
Thank you.
Yes. Is it more hindering or more helpful to say, there's only one prize and I must have that one? Or to say, there are many that would satisfy me? In other words, when you say there's only one, it's more hindering. When you say there are many, it's more allowing. And so, at first, but if you have your heart really set on something, and it sounds like Abraham's saying to you, well, you can't have this thing you really want, you have to settle for something else, that can take you the other way. So Esther calls it the Goldilocks syndrome. You're wanting to get it just right. In other words, you're reaching for the best thought you can find, and when you find it, just milk it. Yes.